in the Forcados area of Delta states, we are beginning to see the magnitude of this menace. Babajide, I saw that video, and I saw how brilliant, some criminals in Nigeria could be. And when we are talking about these criminals conspiring against Nigeria, it has nothing to do with their religion. It has nothing to do with their tribe. They will come together outside Igbo and Yoruba, and they will come together, Christian, Muslim, and they will conspire against our great nation. And when I saw 4-kilometer illegal crude oil pipeline discovered from the original NNPC, you've all been saying it, that when NNPC decided to do a test run with ordinary water, we saw what happened. So Tompolo is now saying that, look, I have even a list of those involved in this business.
Yes, if there's anyone who has the capacity to locate where these oil thieves operate, it has to be Tompolo. I've said it here that looking at the militants at that time, Tompolo was the clear leader of the militants. And Tompolo set up MEND. You may see him as somebody who is half literate and all that, but he has capacity.
He knows what he's doing.
Yes. For them to have, before the amnesty program was set up, for MEND to have hit Nigeria deep into the high seas, you must know that they had capacity. And when you are talking about MEND, you are talking about Tompolo. He is the undisputed leader of the militants. He knows all of those areas. We may sneer at the idea of giving the job of policing our oil installations to a non-state actor. But if that will help us
when the state
to reduce the...
compromised?
Yes, there's no doubt that, look, the armed forces are involved.
Really
people don't like the armed forces generally. When you get, whether you're army, people assume it's just Navy. It's erroneous to think it's just Navy. When you are posted to that area, especially towards the end of your career,
they like it, they influence it.
They know, yes. Especially towards the end of your career, it is assumed that you've been posted to that area for you to take your retirement benefit. Some generals will not even post those not loyal to them to those areas.
That means from the top.
Ayo, this thing had been happening for a long time. And the leadership of our country over a long period knew about what's going on. In my view, the reason it's coming into the open, the reasons this thing has come into the open is, one, the commander-in-chief is not involved in this deal. During the military era,
it was there.
Generals were involved. Or going back to even to the Abacha era, this thing had been on. So it's not as if, but right now, our oil output has declined because a lot of the oil companies are even leaving. Some are leaving our country. The marginal oil fields, a good number of them are not operating at even optimum level. So we are experiencing production shortings. So when you now add the production shortings caused by the fact that even Shell, as big as Shell is, Shell has not been involved in major production in the last few years. So when you now bear that in mind and look at what we are losing as a result of the fact that production is not going on as it should, and you match that with the rampant oil theft that is going on, you can see where we found ourselves. 900,000 barrels a day. A country with capacity to do 2.2. You understand? That was doing 2.2. In fact, when we resolved our problem with the militants in the Niger Delta, with the VP and others going to engage them, we went to about 1.9 million per day. Is that same country now that is doing 900,000? It's
this
not.
is the time we need money.
At a time when we need money badly.
Money badly. And we need that foreign exchange.
Other countries are making money from this war going on. You know, Putin may appear to have lost it in the head, but people are making money from what he's doing. People are making money. This is boom time. Only God knows how much Saudi Arabia will make at the end of this thing.
With what we report every day, GKB, I'm convinced by the day that an average Nigeria, as in, we are not patriotic. We don't love this country. With what I see, our actions, what we do.
I'm glad you said most, because there are still some patriotic.
I am not saying everybody, definitely.
Well, you have to understand that when Abacha said that if certain things go beyond 48 hours, the hierarchy of the government are involved. And this, of course, is a case in point. I'll give an example I'm aware of because I was involved. During the time Regani Adams was in charge of the pipeline security in the Southwest, the major people resisting what the boys were doing were the armed forces. In fact, whoever was caught tried to vandalize the pipelines, the person that would front for him would be a soldier or a naval officer or one of the kind. So you know it is at the level that we cannot pretend that this is a discovery. This has been going on for over 10 years. And if you know Nigeria, remember there was a time that I think OPEC or UN said that Nigeria is not being truthful about the amount of barrels of oil coming out of Nigeria. We were given a figure and the IMF was given another figure. That means people of that nature are aware of this stealing at this massive level, even back then. So if you blame the Nigerian, yeah, you are correct. But if you blame that the system itself is not working, again, you are correct. Because we've not been able to build a country that demands from us patriotism. It's a two-way street. The state must do things for me, and I expect me to do things in return. In countries where they live by taxation, they can see what their taxes are doing. In Nigeria, you see people who had absolutely nothing a day before it goes into government, coming out a very, very rich man. That is not the symbol you send to people that Nigeria is working. So where do you want the patriotism to come from? The man that waits in line for his pension for 8, 9 years and down the line, and then he sees mates of the same salary, of the same level, in the same office, very comfortable living in the choicest areas of Nigeria. So where would the patriotism come from? The state has not provided impetus for us to be patriotic. And so we are who we are. We are the children of our father. We are Nigerians. It is what the Nigerian state is doing to us, sabotaging us. It's what we are doing back to the Nigerian state. Like I said, you cannot see your mate or your father's mate languishing in the sun, waiting for 3,000 naira per month that will not be paid for almost 4 years. And then you will not help yourself to the till before you retire. How does it work? Who wants to line up in the sun and collect 3,000 naira every month when you can easily steal millions of naira and be extremely comfortable in your retirement? So it works both ways. Nigerians are not patriotic.
We have Haruna calling us from Ikorodu in Lagos. Thank you, Haruna.
Good afternoon,
Yes,
and the other person there in the studio. I'm happy that more revolutions are coming out from this oil theft that have been going on for a long period of time in the country. And I'm happy that the contract is given to one of the agitators, in person of Government Tompolo. He knows the terrain very well. And I wouldn't say maybe some of himself, maybe and his boy are involved in this step. But right now we can see more revolutions that are coming up. So some people kick against when the contract was given to him. But thank God now we can see him. So let's just support it. But it is a shame on our security forces agents, the military, the Navy, and all those people safeguarding the pipeline, for them to fail in their duty and for just a non-actors of the society, of the country, to be given this job to secure this. It's a shame on them.
Thank you, Aruna. Thank you for your contribution. Jude, this is not the final. We are going to get, more on this. And
it has just started. Work has just started, and we are seeing all this. We are seeing all this happening. We are discovering. Why didn't we discover all these points? Now we are hearing that even an export terminal
has been breached.
Yes, export terminal. So these things is not
export
easy.
Terminal.
Yes, so
official
export terminal. That we are. It has been breached, and through it, people are siphoning our crude oil. Some people have been making money off this for years, but because output came down,
in Abuja,
then it became a big concern. Because the output came down due to other factors, then it became a problem. It's something that has been happening for decades.
Wow.
But because we are producing at an impressive level, it did not show.
It went on that reader.
It did not really show. It did not become a matter of concern. But when due to all kinds of problems, you have issues, oil companies are leaving Nigeria. The ones that have not left, they declared even force majeure on some of their oil fields due to insecurity and other. So that's why this thing is so open. But I know that with Tom Polo having been engaged, I know that we are going to see a lot more of revelations. And I'm happy that he said he has names of people in the armed forces. He knows then those who are involved. So I hope he can be pushed or nudged to the point where we will let us even know those sabotaging our country. The Senate president said oil thieves are enemies of our country. Those who are not oil thieves too, who are stealing, using their biro to steal, they are also enemies of the country. They are enemies in Abuja, enemies everywhere.
All right, moving on. According to a Yoruba proverb, dangerous play begets nothing but trouble. The danger in the ongoing face-off between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, is that it is bringing more troubles. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has written to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, to withdraw the certificates of registration issued to the Congress of Nigeria University Academics, that's CONWA, and the Nigeria Association of Medical and Dental Lecturers in Academics, NAMDA, by the ministry. In a letter, the NLC said the action violates the Trade Unions Act on registration of new unions, where one already exists. Do you know what's this politics about? I thought the posture of Asuu is going to be like, we're not perturbed, let them register as many trade union centers they want to register, but Asuu is still Asuu. Asuu is still the most formidable. So yes. Why are they crying now?
No, but the law is the law. The law is the law. So your attorneys, your lawyers will advise you on different steps. The Yorubas will say, as far as they are concerned, the law is clear. And don't forget, it's even the NLC president, the person who sits at the top of all industrial unions in our country, that is writing to the minister now, that, come on, you can't do this. It's against the law of the land. Let me read out the content of Section 3, Subsection 2 of the Trade Union Act that the NSC president is quoting. He said, that portion says, no combination of workers or employers shall be registered as a trade union, save with the approval of the minister on his being satisfied that it is expedient to register the union, either by regrouping existing trade unions, registering a new trade union, or otherwise, howsoever. But no trade union shall be registered to represent workers or employers in a place where already exists a trade union. You can see that that portion is clear. But the minister is saying that a portion of that section 3, subsection 2 says, save with the approval of the minister on his being satisfied that it is expedient to register the union. So he is saying that there is a lacuna there. That he's saying that the law permits him,
The minister.
that the law permits him that he can use his judgment. You say, okay, it is expedient to register this this union, but it is not the minister that registers. It is the registrar of trade unions that has that mandate. And Ngige, this is not his first time of registering a body within another body, a workers' union within a workers' union. And the last time he did that, the courts threw away the action of the minister. So if precedent is to be followed,
Okay.
it is safe to say Minister Ngige has merely wasted his time. And I will go to that one, because since the minister said that he uses the law to fight, we will show him where he tried to use the law to fight and he failed. Now, in January 2013, the registrar of trade unions refused to register the non-teaching staff union of polytechnics. The argument of the registrar of trade union was that there already existed another trade union that covers the jurisdiction of non-teaching staff of polytechnics. Therefore, the law did not permit him to register them. What did they now do? 8 years later, they appealed. They didn't appeal all this year, so they appealed 8 years later to the current Minister of Labor and Productivity. They appealed to him that they were treated unfairly, that he should register their body. Then on the 24th of August 2021, an approval was given in form of a letter sent to the General Secretary of the Non-Teaching Staff Association of Polytechnics by the minister. Of course, it was challenged in a court of law, and the court ruled that that certificate of registration that was issued to them should be withdrawn immediately. It should be withdrawn immediately. And the court, in giving that decision, did not only say that the case lacked merit, it also looked at the merit of the case, just so that they would know where they failed. And it was the same section 3, subsection 2 that the court cited, because there is no ambiguity where it says, where that section 3, subsection 2 says, no trade union shall be registered to represent workers or employers in a place where already exists a trade union. So the court said, the court refused to bear in mind that portion that's talking about the discretion of the minister. In any case, it is the register of trade unions that the judgment is that you shall not register where there already exists a union representing that. You know, this whole thing during the Obasanjo years, when we were having all kinds of unions here and there, in order to ensure that we do not have industrial chaos, they then decided that no, we must do something about this proliferation.
Consolidated them.
Yes. Now, look at, we are in in 2022. We are trying to bring back something that was done at a time to solve a problem.
So, and there's this other body, Nigeria Association of Medical and Dental Lecturers in Academics.
And that one has been on for a long time. It even precedes
That's different from the Nigerian Medical Association.
Because they said they are a peculiar set.
Resident doctors.
That they should now be treated the same way that NMA is being treated. Of course, they lost because the Act of 77 was very clear. What they tried to do was to bring everybody together in likeness so that there will be no room for mushrooming anymore. But they've been on this matter for a while, and I think the moment he became minister, they were the first petition that went to his table, that they want to be separated from Asuu. And I see the opportunity now to join in with whatever I thought was going on, and then make a case for it. We can never stop it, because what Obasanjo did, remember, some unions went to court because they thought they were being bundled together with strange bedfellows. But the law was very clear. If you talk like a dog and you walk like a dog, all things will call you a dog. So if your job resembles your job, so I will put you together so you can form a union. But even with that, there will be union dissenting voices throughout the history of the Nigerian Union as we know it. Especially when they're having problems with the federal government, as we have presently. What the minister is doing wrong is missing out the point of why the NLC Act of 77 was promulgated. And it's only laying emphasis on areas that give him actionable elements that he can work with. What they need to do, I told some people on radio this morning, academic, dental, and medical something should go to court. I asked the court to force the registrar of trade unions to register them. They can't go to the minister. It will be thrown out. So let the court tell you whether you have the right to stand as apart. But they thought because
you are trying to exploit the crisis.
The fact that is enough. So that's where we run. But knowing Nigeria as we do, this matter will still end up in court. But you don't do any favors for the matter of our children resuming that all of us are looking for in the last 7 months.
Let me read that judgment. The judgment that was delivered just some months ago. So in the very recent past, the minister had lost a case in which he issued a certificate and the court said withdraw it immediately because there was already a union representing those people. So he said it is declared that the claimant, being a creation of statute with its jurisdictional scope specified under Item 27 of Part B of the 3rd Schedule of the Trade Unions Act, the first and second defendants cannot by administrative fiat factionalize same by giving approval to the registration and or issuing a certificate of registration to the third defendant as a new trade union to take over the area of the claimant already, the claimant already exists and statutorily covers. The approval and registration of the new trade union, known as non-teaching staff union or polytechnic, since the claimant's jurisdictional scope covers all non-academic workers employed employed publicly and privately owned, employed in publicly and privately owned educational, research and associated institutions, including polytechnics, and it is already in existence where the purported new union desires to operate is hereby withdrawn. So that's the
law of the land.
Accordingly, the first and second defendants are hereby ordered to withdraw the certificate of registration with number 0134 and dated the 7th day of December 2021, issued to the third defendant and cancel same forthwith. The law is the law. The law is the law. And as I always say on this program, the law, the constitution of our country, is written in English language that we can all relate with. We don't have to go to school to read law.
Talking about the law now, that means the Court of Appeal has directed us to go back to class. Yes. So that should be the law.
And that's the judgment, not the law.
Not the law.
There's a difference
between
interpretation
of the law.
You know, the law is the law. It is the law that the courts use. A judgment, a court order may not necessarily mean the law, because even that order or judgment can be set aside by another court, by a superior court.
Yeah.
But the judgment of the Superior Court, the Supreme Court is a court of record. So which means that whatever pronouncement is made by the Supreme Court becomes law. So this is the thing. Now, the Asuu has been told to go back to court. They've not said they will not go back. But as we speak now, political means are being explored. They are going to meet this evening. In fact, they were waiting for the Speaker of the House of Reps at the time when we were just getting set for this program. Because the Speaker of the House of Reps has met with them. There are a few outstanding issues. The Speaker said, look, your demand for the revitalization of universities, the infrastructure fund that they are looking for, that he will ensure that the budget takes care of that. We've seen that already with the president promising 470 billion for universities, not for other institutions. For universities. I heard the president say that. Now, what government promised before now was 150 billion. Asuu rejected it.
So it's 470
now with 470 billion, that is some gain.
Yes.
They made some gain in that area. So in my view, that's significant. Secondly, the minister, the head of service has said, look, you have issues with IPPIS. We don't want to have multiple payment platforms. But the drawbacks, the issues around which you are complaining in respect of the IPPIS, we have identified those areas. We are going to address those concerns. Let us see what they will do in that respect. And finally, the issue of no work, no pay. That's also an issue that the Speaker is trying to address. Maybe the president will agree in the final analysis that, okay, let's pay them this so that they can. Because you can't tell a person that you have not paid him for 7 months to go and start teaching. They can obey the court order because the court order says resume. You can resume and not teach. In fact, some of them are thinking that yes, we sit inside our offices. But I think the Speaker can achieve so much. I only hope
by
that
political.
Yes, a lot of these issues are. Even the health workers' strike the other day, it was still political
that they used
to resolve.
Okay. All right. We'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
All I do is win. I wake up, I win. I close my eyes, and I win.
We got a emergency, girlfriend.
Keep up on me, come on, let's go. Keep winning till the world stops spinning. Independent women, come on, now let's get it. I'ma keep winning till the world stops.
Wow, you look great. Did you just come from the salon?
Darling Superstar, grades that stay salon fresh no matter what.
The federal government, through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, announces the availability of COVID-19 and childhood vaccines nationwide. With the disturbing increase in reported cases of COVID-19 infections across Nigeria, protect yourself and loved ones from the harmful virus by getting vaccinated. Visit the nearest public or private health facility and mass vaccination sites today to receive the first, second or booster doses of COVID-19 vaccines. COVID-19 vaccines are given to persons 18 years and above, including pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers, while childhood vaccines are given to children from birth to 5 years for protection against polio, hepatitis, yellow fever, measles, meningitis, and other vaccines-preventable diseases. All vaccines are free, safe and effective. For inquiries, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng or call 0700-220-1122.
This message is from NPHCDA in partnership with the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Good afternoon, Oga. Now you be the landlord.
Yes, Nami.
Oga landlord, me go need 1 room for this your house, so.
Okay, sure you get work where you do.
Yes, I be nurse.
You know go they owe me be that now.
Now how much be your rent, safe?
Not just 90,000 naira. Wait, this guy, where you come from, Seth?
Oga, I come from my kamata.
Akamata, no talk am again. My spirit and Akamata people no dey ever join.
Okay, wetin happen now?
Come over for my compound. Na so baba thing na people sabi do for that Akamata. Come over for here.
Haba, Papa, wetin this innocent girl do you now? Now people like you, they spoil Nigeria, Papa.
I think you don't see am now. My people they talk say jollof rice wey dey for bottom pot today go dey top of cooler tomorrow. As I take need you now, so you self need me. Because now one mama we get we be Nigeria. Make we love ourselves because now only together we go fit make our country better for us and our children them. One heart plus one love equals better Nigeria. Now the Center for Democracy and Development CDD with support from the UK government, they bring in this message.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happens.
It's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sport, entertainment and business news so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth.
Every night.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Journalist Hangout, and I still have Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Gani Kairo Balogun in the studio, and we're still looking at the rift between the federal government and Asuu. Now, Jide, Asuu is asking the minister to deregister Konwa and those other associations. So, of what effect would this? Do you see the minister, yielding to the demand of Asuu?
He may not. He is a stubborn man, and he has said so that he's a small man. We know how stubborn that minister is, but he cannot be more stubborn than the law. Cannot be more stubborn than the law. And look, when the NLC president stepped in and quoted the relevant section of the law, even international law, you know that there must have been something that he saw. There must have been something that he saw. And this is, I've come up with this judgment, the latest attempt, the attempt before this one, that the minister made to register a rival union in the Polytechnic now, which the court said, no, you cannot. You cannot. And he also gave the order that the first and second defendant are hereby restrained from recognizing and dealing with the non-teaching staff union of polytechnics as a trade union, And it also said they are restrained from parading themselves as a trade union capable of unionizing non-academic workers, employees of polytechnics who are already eligible and bona fide members of the claimant. So it is clear. If this judgment was issued just some months back, so what are we talking about? It was late last year that the minister gave them certificates.
GKB, going by this hardline posture now, our students might not get back to their classrooms.
I think they will.
Because if this person is quoting the law, and that other one is saying, I have a court of appeal law, go back to your classroom, and Asuu is saying, look.
Ayo, this is not the different thing.
Yeah.
They don't want Konwa.
It's not that they want to go back.
Based on the law. The law now, the judgment says, go back. They've not come out to say they will not go back. Because they were given 7 days within which to comply.
I think the 7 days is reading now.
Of course, it's been reading since that last week. They were given 7 days. We've not seen the end of 7 days. And as I told you, they are meeting with the speaker. The speaker said that his meeting with the president was fruitful. I want to believe that the president agreed that some concessions must be made. And I see the decision of the president to move from 150 billion to 470 as also a major concession, which should make Asuu sit down, because you don't win when you come to the negotiation table. It's not everything that you take that you will win. Some, you must be ready to concede some. The way it is now, we want the suffering of these students to end. And I'm sure that even Asuu knows that at this point, there are concessions that they must make because that judgment, they must obey that judgment. So what do? That's why the political moves are continuing. I don't think that they've not, even their lawyer has not said that they will not comply because they know they must comply.
The lingering strike now is like a minus against these governments. So the earlier they try and resolve the crisis, the better.
What I'm even happy about is that a few weeks ago, it looks like they are trying to kick the ball to the next administration. But now we see some sunlight coming out of the darkness. Remember, there was a time that the minister was adamant. That's either my way or the highway. But now there have been concessions, even meetings. And I want to commend the speaker for taking it upon himself to find a solution to it. Because the promise he made about budgetary allocation is the key component in ensuring that the infrastructural bill, the one that they are worried about, come to fruition. Because what is budgeted is no longer the problem of the Minister of Labour or the Minister for Education. It's now a question of the law, according to the budget of next year.
I even think that the president has to be commended because under his administration, we've seen more payments made in respect of that infrastructure fund for universities. Now, they've paid, we now have payment made in excess of 600 billion.
Okay.
Which means that the new administration, when it comes in, it just needs to balance up over time, just about 600 billion.
All right. And finally, there may be more to the issue of fuel subsidy in Nigeria than we know. As the debate over its removal rages, senators said the National Assembly will not pass the proposal on petrol subsidy removal by June 2023, as presented by President Muhammadu Buhari, in order not to create crisis from the new administration that would succeed him. Meanwhile, economic and financial experts have raised concerns over the 20.51 trillion naira budget proposal for the 2023 due to rising deficits and declining revenue. They said success of the budget depends on the extensive fiscal and monetary measures to address the wide gap. GKB, let me start from you here. Subsidy.
Yeah, subsidy must
head or tail. It's going to be a major campaign topic.
Yeah.
You remove it, there will be hardship. You don't remove it,
will go down.
The hardship will continue, and we are going to find it difficult to get foreign exchange, grappling with this foreign exchange problem.
The Yoruba proverb that says that you put a mess in my mouth and you put salt. That means that what you are trying to say is that it's what they call the options choice, really. So what we need to do now is, I agree with the senators, to remove the subsidy right now is putting the incoming government in jeopardy. But this is something we thought will happen in 2020, a year after the second term. Because normally the conventional wisdom is that people don't do such drastic decisions when they are looking for elections. But they can do it immediately after get their second term so that they can serve as a buffer 2-3 years before the next government will come in and take the ball. So I think the onus is on the president and the economic team to find a way not to make themselves the whipping boy. Because Nigeria is in severe pain and our revenue is not meeting up with our expenditure. And they do not want to remove certain things that were promised in 2015 that we thought would make the budget more slimmer. But between you and I, whatever will happen now, I think there will still be subsidy on the budget till after the election. I think the problem will push forward to the next administration.
Does this make sense? We know that since 2012, since that famous Ojota rally, that the government of Goodluck Jonathan explained, and all the eggheads in that government, Okonjo-Iweala, Sanusi Lamido, Sanusi,
and the governors,
and they explained to Nigerians why we should remove that subsidy. And many years after, 10 years after, we are yet to convince Nigerians, and the quantum of money we pay on this subsidy doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. At that time when you are talking about during the Jonathan era, we were paying less than 400 billion.
No, we are talking about trillions.
Yes.
5 trillion naira.
Today, in fact, the National Assembly has to slash the subsidy bill that the president came up with to 1.7 trillion or so. I was looking at it. They had to slash it. Okay, they slashed the 3.6 trillion subsidy to 1.7 trillion.
About half.
No? So, in order to reduce fiscal deficit and all that, the budget is already, the budget is not here yet. We have not begun to implement it, but it's already beginning with deficit.
Heavy deficit.
Yes, it's consistent.
We don't have enough
over
revenue
the years like that.
In the last 3 years.
Look, all countries coming out of COVID try to cut their cloth according to their size. But we've been coming up with huge budgets.
Yeah,
huge
20.51 trillion.
We want the world to see us
now we are
coming up with huge budgets.
As a big boy.
We are not, without looking at
we are not making the revenue.
The capacity to fund the budget. If this budget now, we projected about 9 trillion as revenue. But look at the size of the budget. So the remainder of the money, what are you going to do?
20.51 trillion.
You are going to borrow. You've already shown clearly that, look, there's a big funding gap. Because if you are projecting, and that projection, there's no guarantee that we can actually meet it. Because let's even ask ourselves, how much will come from FRS, for example, maybe in the region of 5 trillion.
How much will come from Nigerian customs?
Customs, how much will come? Customs cannot come up with anything up to 2 trillion.
They don't have the capacity.
They don't,
Unless you want to
double level. No, whether we like it or not. See, put knives to people's necks. They are already
you are collecting 70%.
They are even going
of the amount of the car purchase to clear.
A lot of our people who are abroad, who send cars home, they are
complaining.
And some of this money, they use it to make life meaningful for people who are here, who are on their necks. But when you make it unprofitable for them to even remain in that line of business, you are making life difficult for people here, the dependents who are here. Nigerians, because Nigerians work hard overseas, Nigerians and Indians, we work hard overseas to send money home. And even the diaspora remittances, the diaspora remittance of Nigerians have the capacity to be even higher than what comes from crude oil.
That's how big.
That's how big it is. I think it's India that are ahead of us in that area. Yes, because Indians all over. There is no sphere of business that the Indians can get into and excel. Yes, technology, IT and all that, they are fantastic. And everywhere, in fact, a lot of CEOs in American big companies.
In the top 500, Indians are the MD, CEO of 25.
They are good at it. And they are sending money home. Just like what you look at this budget, capital expenditure falling below target, debt servicing debt servicing outstripping
everything
revenue.
Honestly.
Everything else.
So if debt servicing is outstripping
Very
revenue,
strange, very strange.
it portends danger.
Yes.
And my question is, are we sure that even in 2023 we can surmount that problem? I can see how they are thinking.
Julie, let's quickly take this breather to pay these bills. When we come back, we'll talk more.
The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, has approved the conferment of the Award of National Honors on some distinguished Nigerians and friends of Nigeria. Date, Tuesday, 11th October 2022. Time, 9 a.m. prompt. Venue, International Conference Center, Abuja. Chief host, Senator George Akume, FNIM, Honorable Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs. The list of the awardees will be published in the Daily Trust, Leadership, This Day, and The Nation newspapers of Sunday 9th and Monday 10th October 2022. Please note also that there will be rapid COVID-19 tests for awardees, which will take place on Monday 10th October 2022 from 10 a.m. at designated hotels. Awardees are entitled to one guest. Awardees and guests should be seated by 8 a.m. prompt. For further inquiries and clarification, please contact the Secretary, National Awards Committee on the following telephone numbers: 0805-938-2659, 0808-218-2222, and 0803-450-8837. Announcer, Bibiana Roberts, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs.
This blessing be yours forever to keep a calm and peaceful sleep.
Removes mosquitoes so you can sleep a calm and peaceful sleep. Good night, Electric.
For more than 20 years, Betty, the Lagos Economic Summit, has contributed to the socio-economic and infrastructural development in Lagos State back to back. Some of the ideas from the previous Betty are what we now point to as the attractions of Lagos to the world. Here is another opportunity to discuss: are you a business leader, a professional, an entrepreneur, an academic, a techie, or in any other category with Lagos on your mind? Register at www.enyigbettisummit.com to attend the summit holding at Eko Hotels and Suites, or to join Enyigbeti 2022 Summit online. Come forward with your thoughts. Let's set an implementable agenda for a greater Lagos.
Thank you for staying with us. Still on the economy. So, Julie, what do we do about the 2023 budget now? We were talking about the capital expenditure, we were talking about the recurrent expenditure, and we were talking about debt services. But the ridiculous part of it is debt servicing, and we're going to service more debts than the revenue that we're expected to make.
At least if we are to go by what we've seen this year. And I've not seen signs that something extraordinary will happen. And what the lawmakers are saying is, look, let the removal of subsidy, the deadline, let it be December 2023, so that the new government can stabilize, prepare the people's minds sufficiently. But if you are saying that it should be July, that means they're just coming into May. Yeah, that means they're coming into office, and they will walk into a climate of anger, hostility. Because look at the way Nigerians can be very emotional about those matters. When Goodluck Jonathan decided to increase fuel prices, when people were celebrating, they said, no, why should it be at this time? Why should, so even timing of a major policy has to be key. You get the timing right. So I agree with those people that let the government even come in, stabilize before you do it. Obasanjo did something during Yar'Adua, Yar'Adua took over. He increased fuel prices before the new government came in, because he did not want it to come into office in a climate of hatred and all that. And he decided to take the bullet on behalf of the Yar'Adua administration. So if President Buhari can't do it now, they are saying, look, let it take off by December 31st, 2023. By that time, the government will have been, begun to stabilize.
But we keep postponing the evil days.
No, but we know that once
will come.
It will certainly come.
It's
better now. It's better now that we are even setting a date to it. Before now, we are not talking about any date. But let's face it, can a new government that did not create the problem, will it be right to just come into office and like 1 month
and dump
after,
it on them?
1 month after you started, nobody knows the extent to which people will resist this thing. NLC, everybody will come up, up in arms. You want that to happen under 1 month or 1 month? That would be terrible.
I thought Buhari will bite the bullet in 2019 after the election, because that year was very bad, as you know. Immediately Kemi left as minister, we had a problem, a period that nobody's really sure the current direction of the country. Then COVID
after that recession, the second recession,
and then we run into trouble.
Done it.
Because I was so sure that after the election,
that would have been the perfect
that's the
time
best time to have done it. Because you have 3 years to absorb the shock.
Yes.
I will not pass on the burden to the government administration.
So what we are saying now is that the removal of that subsidy, some people are saying that, look, we might end up buying a liter of petrol for 400 and something naira.
Yeah. The problem is that we still don't do taxation well. That's really the problem. With the right level of taxation, everybody captured in the nets. It will not be a big burden on anybody. Because taxation will provide the things that you need, the alternatives, good trains, good buses, to ensure that the need to buy petrol at that level will come down drastically. All over the world, that's what is done. They will provide buses, even Saudi Arabia, where they run into problem. The first thing they did was to increase the number of trains that they built. Make it bigger, make it with more coaches.
To take in more people.
Yeah, so you don't need to buy fuel at that amount, because you don't need to go out with your car.
Even when Lagos starts its light rail project, when they kick off,
reduce,
many people won't use their cars. Because they can be taking 1,500 people.
Yeah.
Many people won't use their cars. It's not necessary.
Even buses, when they started this bus in my neighborhood, I calculated how to get to my office in CMS, and it cost me 300 naira from my bus stop to Oshodi, 100 naira, Oshodi to CMS, 100 naira. For 200, why should I go with my car when I go to fuel with about 2,000 naira? But because Lagos was arranged in such a way that it's not the route you go, that you come back. That's why it was difficult for people to do the same thing. That can be done now. More buses, more routes. I'm sure by the time Lagos State,
the rail project
things will work.
I want to thank you, Gani Kaide Balogun. Thank you for your contribution.
Always a pleasure.
And Bikio, thank you for always being there.
Thank you.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11 p.m. and join us every Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
We love fried food, seasoned fried fish, French fries, but cooking fried food sometimes feels like going to war. Different cooking pans, hot oil spills, lots and lots of oil, meaning added calories, and cleaning is a disaster. Scraping, what a chore, but not anymore. Introducing the new ShopX Power Air Fryer with one-touch technology. The Power Air Fryer fries with superheated cyclonic air with little to no oil and up to